Holy smokes, we have a chapter where Oda over-delivers, where we get to see the strongest thing in the world. We find out what Loki's devil fruit actually is, and it's not Fenrir the Wolf. We get Luffy and the Drums of Liberation and so much more, so make sure to stay tuned to the best chapter, honestly, we've gotten since Zebek Awesomeness. Chill the parking within and smash that like button if you enjoy seeing One Piece reviews like this one on the channel. I want to keep them coming. Make this the video you join the Nakama if you haven't already by subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss future One Piece reviews and updates like this one. And now without further ado, let's jump into it, spoilers and all. So last chapter we just had Zoro flexing on the entire giant crew single-handedly like it was nothing. Like those are the situations that they'll be talking about when people hundreds of years from the present speak of the legend of Zoro, and people will say, no way a single human could do that. It's just a myth. But in the One Piece world, that's literally, this is myths being made right here. His plan was actually more nuanced than just cutting as well. We figured that out because he cut, get this, from above so as not to be surrounded by giants, because being sandwiched by them would cause him to be reversed himself. Is it simple? Yeah, it is pretty simple, but still awesome outside of the box thinking there, and I appreciated it. He even seemingly took down the giant co-captains, not saying they'll stay down, but he took them down temporarily by having them accidentally cut down each other when they were aiming for him. It's crazy that Zoro is so epic that something like that can happen, and it's not even surprising to see or an arc highlight for him. We also had the reveal that Gunko is Princess Shuri, who apparently ended her own father and king, who was himself the man Brook owed everything to quote Brook's own words. Gunko didn't seem like a bad person though, because she freed Brook when she momentarily became herself again and the Straw Hats, and told him to run before Imu started trying to re-establish control. So props to Brook for freeing the crew, even if it was accidental, and it's looking like Princess Shuri is actually a misjudged person, just like Loki, and I'd assume there's a good explanation as to what actually happened between her and her father. Like maybe, this is just a maybe, but maybe that was when Imu started taking control, and so Imu did it and Shuri was blamed. Or maybe something happened to the father, like with Harold, and there was no choice. Either way, I don't think it's as clear-cut as Brook is making it sound here, obviously. And then, for a second at the end of the chapter, we got to rejoice in Summers messing up and looking horrified, although he quickly flips from devastated to happy in this chapter, but don't worry, it won't last long. But what happened last chapter was that he hit away the evil Nika that was about to fall on him, and it hit into the ship accidentally that was supposed to transport the children. It was an accident, and he looks devastated when he sees what he has done, and that cliffhanger leads us to this chapter where the kids are now still walking towards the ship, but there's no ship for them to actually board. This new chapter is called The Strongest Thing in the World, and if that's not up there with the most hyped up titles of One Piece chapters ever, I don't know what is. Gotta mention the reader request quickly here as well, because this time we have a cover art that includes the Pirate King himself, Gold D. Roger. He's giving a piece of meat to a T-Rex that wears Roger's hat, and the request was specifically Roger taming and walking a T-Rex like it's a puppy. That's definitely some Pirate King energy right there. This chapter starts where the last one ended. Summers is shocked, as mentioned, because the evil Luffy Dream Monster destroyed the ship and created a huge hole in the sea clouds. So now they can't take the children off the island as planned to be their hostages. If you were hoping Summers stays upset and scared though, unfortunately he'll flip pretty quickly. At first he actually tries to stop the kids, but he can't because Gunko's arrows are still guiding them. This is when his face changes to a mocking, sinister, and disgusting expression, and we even see him drooling with pleasure. He says, "What the heck? This way of killing them is divine. This is worth a shot. Besides, it will also be the Great One's mistake, since they took over Gunko's body and clearly they didn't stop the arrows. The tears, the calls for each other, this love between a parent and their child. Now this is emotion," end quote. So last chapter, I was wondering how Oda would keep the rush against time thing going, since it seemed to end abruptly and too soon, but here he just increased it, interestingly enough. Because if they were just boarding the ship, then our guys would have time to save them as the ship is preparing to leave or while it's already leaving. Now, in contrast, the end and them falling to their doom is waiting for them, where before in that same time frame, they would have just been boarding the ship. So kudos to Oda, where we might have thought tension was being lifted. In fact, it actually ended up being increased, and rapidly at that. Then Summers talks to the children, saying that their original plan was to deliver them safely to the Holy Land, but now that the sea clouds are gone due to an unfortunate accident, the plan has changed. He says excitedly, that means you all will have a a terrible death caused by falling. You gotta give props to Oda. Summers has to be one of the most hateable villains ever, and he definitely needs a good Luffy punching the Celestial Dragon moment. I can't see Oda not giving us such a satisfying moment after all this buildup with him in this arc. I expect it to be one of those legendary payoffs for sure. We then get an emotional punch to the gut when Colin, who put up a tough front for a long time, finally can't take it anymore and cries like the kid he actually is, and says he won't do any bad things anymore. We see flashbacks of the giant children being scolded by their parents. In Colin's example, he won a quote-unquote duel with another child and kept his little robot toy that looks like Emmett, interestingly enough. Ripley scolded Colin, telling him that since he's much stronger than the other children, he should be kind to them. So pretty much she told him, with great power comes great responsibility. When Colin is about to reach the edge of the dock, Ripley appears in front of him and hugs him, injuring herself with the thorns. Exactly the tragic kind of situation that Summers loves to relish in. Colin cries and says, I don't want to die, mommy. This has to be a top crazy sad moment in One Piece, and especially in non-flashback One Piece for sure. But we gotta keep in mind, as low as Oda takes us here, right up to the last moment, the harder the resolution will hit us when it does come around. Because we all know at the end of the day that Oda, famous for not ending characters, is not actually going to lead all these kids to their doom, especially in the present story. He definitely takes more liberties in the flashbacks. But for now, it's looking about as bad as it can get. Ripley says, Colin, come here. Sorry, I couldn't stop this. Colin, despite being a kid, shows how brave he is through his fear when he selflessly says, get away from me, mommy. You're going to die if you don't. And Ripley responds, as you'd expect a parent to do, I don't care. I won't let you die alone. It's one of the most touching moments we get. Both are ready to die for one another. Then in a very sad double page, we see Ripley and all the other relatives, including Oimo, Ange, and Rode, hugging the children and falling down all together to the underworld. Even Rode, despite often being the butt of the joke and not taken seriously, stepped up here. It sometimes means even more when we see this kind of sacrifice where you didn't expect it, like with Rode. And that is the end of the chapter. No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Hopefully that joke didn't hurt the watch time of the video, guys. Now, that would be quite the cliffhanger, though, you gotta admit. But thankfully, Oda has some top-tier awesomeness in store for us all after all of that suffering. And the best part of the chapter is definitely yet to come, so make sure to stay tuned for that. Suddenly, as they are falling to their doom, all of Elbaf begins to tremble, and something colossal appears. And believe it or not, I think colossal is an understatement, as we're about to see. Giant Luffy, Gear 5, is with that creature, keyword Giant Luffy, and saves the children and their relatives. So this scene right here perfectly embodies that Dragon Ball Z everything is going to be okay feeling everyone gets when Goku finally shows up, and I love it. The colossal creature is none other than Loki transformed into a dragon, and the children and the relatives all fall on his back. Now this is huge because when I was speculating about Loki's fruit in the chapter where it was first revealed, I asked you guys to let me know what you thought it was in the comments. I gave my own thoughts, obviously. The majority speculated it was Fenrir, a giant wolf from Norse mythology. But some agreed with my assumption that it could be the mythical Zone Nidhogg, a Norse dragon who is said to gnaw at the world tree and symbolizes chaos and destruction. I guess this because the myth is associated with a mythical squirrel too, that goes with the whole Ragnar stuff, and the dragon is associated with the underworld, obviously a place we associate Loki with. I went into more reasons in that other video why it made sense in my chapter 1170 review if you want to go back into it. But for the purposes of this video, let's just party and celebrate the fact that it was indeed a dragon fruit. Whether it was that specific mythical dragon is yet to be seen, so let's continue. But still, very cool that we got the dragon part right though. Hashtag Dragon Loki for Straw Hat in the comments. Dragon Loki is described as a black western dragon, a mix between a Game of Thrones dragon, but with the head of the Sleeping Beauty dragon. And I actually think those are really good explanations. I love it. And I like the fact that Oda switched it up here instead of giving us another one of the long Eastern dragons. It keeps things cool and fresh. With Momo being a thing, another one like that would have been overkill, so I'm glad that Oda did it this way. We're also told that Loki's eyes look like the eyes of Domi Reverse creatures, or the way we've seen Big Mom's eyes look before, as if they were glowing / burning, if that makes sense. Either way, with his bandages, we all knew to expect cool things from Loki's eyes when the bandages finally came off. Still waiting on you and your closed eyes, Zoro. Expect great things from that eye. After Dragon Loki appears, it starts to snow in Elbaf and lightning strikes all over the island. I remind you that this chapter is called The Strongest Thing in the World, and the title did not disappoint. He's so strong that the world distorts as soon as he shows up. Crazy, man. It's to the point where I honestly don't know how Oda is going to handle the story and characters like Zoro and Sanji when he's hyped up Loki this much. Like, we better not get a Jinbei-esque debuff feeling with Loki after all of this hype. That's all I'm saying. I love Loki as a character too much for that to happen to him as well. We're also told, obviously, that the change in weather is thanks to the power of Loki's Devil Fruit, which is not named yet, but it seems to make it clear with the snow that it's probably his power that froze the Dream Monster previously and allowed Ragnar to shatter it so easily in a previous chapter. And let's all appreciate the fact here that Dragon Loki, after being viewed as a monster and villain for so long, is now the one saving the day as he gets the children and their relatives to safety, and then he starts fighting the other dream monsters who obviously stand no chance whatsoever. And here's the other thing I'm really curious about right now. As I've been talking about in every chapter, we hear the sound of drums, aka the drums of liberation associated with Luffy's Sun God fruit. The Giants are surprised to hear the drums, Summers is furious and you love to see it, and Imu Gunko observes what is happening in silence. You know Imu is scared right now. Now, if you've been watching my reviews on the channel, you know that I've been waiting for this. I've been predicting that Luffy's drums of liberation are what is going to liberate people from being Domi reversed and from Imu's influence. It's been a long time coming, but it seems like we'll find out if I was right soon enough here about that. The Giants comment, "What's this rhythm?" Elbaf itself is shaking. In an epic double page, called one of the most epic double pages in all of One Piece, talk about the hype, we see Dragon Loki destroying everything in his path and defeating many dream monsters. Luffy, Gear 5, and Squirrel Ragnar are on top of Loki's head, and get this, giant Luffy is just about a third of one of Loki's horns. So you can see why I said even colossal is kind of an understatement for Loki's size here. With such a size, imagine how much power he's condensing in that hybrid form. It's just crazy to think about, and honestly, Oda delivered so hard with this chapter. You guys know that I pretty much always enjoy the chapters, even if we have slow chapters. I find something to enjoy, but this one, you gotta admit, just took it to the next level. We then get prophetic words from Yarul, as I assume he's quoting from the Harley, saying, and I quote, "On the day of a lightning snowstorm, a gigantic beast appears, covering the sky, and along with the drums of liberation, the sun god descends." Wow, wow, wow. Goosebump inducing moment right there, and amid all this legendary mythical level stuff, Luffy is just himself as usual, laughing and saying, "This is so funny, look how big you are," which is exactly what we'd expect from our lighthearted protagonist here. And that is the end of this epically epic, that's right, it deserves epically epic chapter, and there is a break next week, but as Oda sometimes does, he gave us an amazing chapter to hold us over until the break is over. Let me know how you like this chapter. Who in the verse is still stronger than Loki right now? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Would you include Zoro, for example? But either way, I think it's safe to say that this Devil Fruit broke One Piece as we thought we knew it. Feeling so blessed to be a One Piece fan right now. The story is getting so good. But if you did enjoy this video, then YouTube says you also like this one. Link on screen right now. Like and subscribe for more One Piece, and I'll see you in the next one.